I will write my concerto. I will work with great efficiency. The concerto will be of excellent quality. I will write my concerto. I will work with great efficiency. The concerto will be of excellent quality. I will write my concerto. I will work with great efficiency. The concerto will be of excellent quality. I will write my concerto. I will work with great efficiency. The concerto will be of excellent quality.
It's 1900. 26-year-old Sergei Rachmaninov is in crisis. Half his days spent in bed, sighing over his ruined life. Severely depressed, he's taken to drink. Paralyzed by low self-esteem, he's not written a single page of music worth saving. It's been like this for 3 years now. Perhaps he peaked too early. He dashed off his first piano concerto aged just 17, the highest marks ever awarded in his music school. Or perhaps he was scarred by his crazy teacher Nikolai Zverev. Zverev liked locking up his students in his house for years of rigorous study. Well, the truth is, neither was the reason for Rachmaninov's despair.
Well, what is it, Sergei? What is it that started all of this?
Dr. Dahl, let me tell you, my life has been misery heaped on travesty, failure on wretchedness. For one, we used to be rich, but my father lost it all. For two, my hero Maestro Tchaikovsky has recently died. It's the end of an era, I tell you. The age of the Romantics is no more. And for three, the Russian Orthodox Church forbids me marrying the love of my life, for she's my first cousin.
Sergei, how many times do we have to go over this? When you style your hair close-cropped on that doom-laden lanky figure of yours, you give off the vibes of an escaped convict, and no one wants an escaped convict, Sergei.
No one but my darling Natalia, Dr. Dahl.
Well, that may be so, but you mentioned that other recent trauma. That may have something to do with the way you're feeling.
I can't, Dr. Dahl. I can't do this anymore.
You must, Sergei. You must. Remember, for me, Sergei. For yourself, Sergei. Tell me, what actually happened on that night of March 28, 1897?
Premiere night of my very first symphony. Spent years composing, writing and refining, unable to compose anything else.
So naturally, Sergei, the stakes were high.
Indeed, Dr. Dahl. High enough for sky-high nerves. I was hiding in the staircase before the performance. I've heard my fate was in the hands of that butcher, old Glazunov.
This is that alcoholic conductor, Alexander Glazunov, yes?
That butcher, yes. He arrived at the podium, tanked up on vodka, and butchered my glorious work. The most agonizing hour of my life. I fled from the concert hall as fast as I could.
And the review, Sergei?
I can't, Dr. Dahl. Please, make this stop!
What were the reviews, Sergei?
Mr. Rachmaninoff's symphony is like the 10 plagues of Egypt. It's music for the inmates of a music conservatory in hell. Ben. Tss. I'm looking for sympathy, Dr. Dahl.
Sorry.
Lord above, I feel like a man who's suffered a stroke, who's lost the use of his head and hands. 3 years of writer's block has shattered my hopes of a brilliant career.
But I believe your aunt arranged for you to meet your hero, to inspire you to write again.
Well, they say you shouldn't meet your heroes. Leo Tolstoy was a horrible man, totally unsympathetic. You know, he even had the gall to tell me, I hate your music.
And so, 3 years after your disastrous premiere, you've come to seek my assistance.
Help me, Dr. Dahl. Help me!
Dr. Dahl had come highly recommended. Physician, hypnotherapist, and life coach rolled into one, he got Rachmaninoff to repeat self-affirming mantras over and over again whilst lying in his hypnotist chair every day from January to April 1900. They worked on his sleep patterns, on his appetite, anything to improve his depression. Dr. Dahl was a great musical enthusiast himself. He was intent that Rachmaninoff should realise his potential by writing a new piano concerto. And by summer, Rachmaninoff's confidence was sufficiently restored to write 2 movements of what would be his second piano concerto. Despite considerable nervousness and a severe cold, he premiered those movements in December 1900 to great acclaim. His creative juices flowing again, Rachmaninoff managed to finish the remaining movement by April the following year. By the end of 1901, Rachmaninoff's second piano concerto was set for its full premiere. 8 magnificent chimes open the piece. They're like bells tolling from the onion-shaped towers of the Moscow church that his grandma used to take him to as a child. They remind us of the power that the Russian Orthodox Church wielded, all too familiar to Rachmaninoff when his engagement broke down. The chimes also remind us of Rachmaninoff's freakishly huge hands, since the notes of each chord are very widely spaced. Many a pianist has wished for bigger hands to play this piece. Strings and clarinet launch us into a folky Russian theme. But given this is a piano concerto, something unusual is happening. The piano's reduced to mere accompaniment, sinking into the orchestra, even being carried by it. The piano adds a blizzard of notes to thicken the texture of the orchestra's wall of sound. Normally we'd expect a cadenza, a sort of solo passage where the piano shows off with dazzling virtuosity, but none of that here. Here there's a notable sense of self-denial, Rachmaninoff the pianist being propped up, given support almost, by Dr. Dahl the orchestra. Eventually the piano musters the confidence to escape from the comforts of the orchestra. The orchestra falls silent, and the piano develops a sumptuous new melody, now in a major rather than minor key. It's a theme so famous that the rock band Muse incorporated it into their 2001 song Space Dementia. Just like Rachmaninoff was boosted in confidence after that mini premiere of December 1900, the piano comes back to the first theme, this time not as mere accompaniment, but rather playing a rousing march over the orchestra. It's highly chromatic, it's all grand fortissimo chords, and then it dissolves into that gentle second theme once more, this time played on a solo French horn, a sense of enchanted otherworldliness that's developed in the second movement. The piano plays Bach-like arpeggios. It's gentle, shy even, with all the intimate atmosphere of chamber music. Flute and clarinet play a delicate and lyrical theme. It's pure Rachmaninoff, beautiful melodies in the romantic tradition of his hero Tchaikovsky, music straight from the heart. The melody's been endlessly recycled by composers and songwriters throughout the 20th century. You'll recognise it in the 1975 pop ballad All By Myself, but turns out that when Eric Carmen thought he'd written that hit, well, all by himself, the angry Rachmaninoff family turned up on his doorstep and successfully claimed their royalties to it. As the melody fades away, the soloist is left in tranquility, readying to assert itself in the final movement. That final movement opens with the showy cadenza we've all been waiting for. And just in case we forgot that Rachmaninoff was one of the supreme pianists of his time, the piano plays a crisp staccato theme with great dexterity, speed, endurance, and all-round prowess. Rachmaninoff pulls another show-stopping tune out of the bag, this time played on oboe and violas. 2 years after his death, a young Frank Sinatra croons this very tune in his song Full Moon and Empty Arms. In fact, the spectre of Rachmaninoff's second piano concerto haunts many classic Sinatra songs, from I Think of You to Ever and Forever. As the finale gathers in optimism, we again move from minor to major. We enter a section that Rachmaninoff marked on the score risoluto, and all is indeed resolved, with a great bravura swoop on the piano to tell us just how far we've come from those tentative, forbidding bells of the opening. It's a journey that mirrors Rachmaninoff's own restoration of confidence, the resolution of his own demons. Not that Rachmaninoff had fully recovered before the premiere. 5 days before it was to be performed in November 1901, he'd asked a fellow composer for his opinion, something you should just never do. His friend's verdict was scathing, convincing the fragile Rachmaninoff that he'd produced a totally incompetent piece of work. Beleaguered by panic and despair, he thought of calling the entire thing off. But with the composer at the piano and his cousin Alexander Silotti conducting, the premiere turned out to be an enormous success. A hard-won triumph that catapulted Rachmaninoff to instant fame. He emerged from the doldrums with a work finer than anything he'd yet composed. He was showered with awards, quit his excessive drinking, and regained the ability to compose fluently again, this time with an even greater expressive range than before, with melodies richer than ever before. And it's those exquisite, unforgettable tunes that have made his music so popular with audiences, in concert halls and even at the movies. For the big screen embraced his second piano concerto when it featured throughout David Lean's 1945 film Brief Encounter and Marilyn Monroe's The 7-Year Itch. It consistently tops Classic FM's Hall of Fame, and it's often chosen by the great and the good as a Desert Island disc. Yet the victory for Rachmaninoff went far deeper than a professional one. The second piano concerto brought him a personal triumph too. With his confidence renewed and his prospects transformed, Rachmaninoff finally managed to marry his first cousin the following year. He exploited a loophole that permitted him to marry her in a small army chapel on the outskirts of Moscow, with his conductor, Alexander Silotti, as best man. And what of the man who did so much to restore the composer's self-confidence? Well, Rachmaninoff dedicated his concerto to him. Dr. Nikolai Dahl was singled out above all. Well, that's it, folks. Follow our channel, support us on Patreon, listen to the piece in full, and most importantly, enjoy classical music.